hope I don't step in it like Barbara Streisand. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 249 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in beautiful downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the good ones. Pocket Cast, always a favorite of ours. And thank you for rating and telling people.
Pocket Cast, not such a fan recently.
Yeah, it's
not liking the update.
I mean, like, I feel like it's one of those, like, if Pocket Cast was, you remember when Instagram, like, changed something for, like, half a minute, like, get horizontal or something like that? Like, people lost their shit. It's just like, thank God Pocket Cast isn't as big as Instagram, because then I think they would get a lot of people going, like, they fucking ruined my podcast.
I can't even listen anymore. But if you choose not to use Pocket Cast, you can, of course, find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, you're watching right now at facebook.com/O The Anthem, or possibly later on at youtube.com/O The Anthem. And of course, you can find everything O The Anthem related at otheanthem.com. And it is episode 249, which means the next episode is 250.
Yep.
And the one that follows that is well, I guess next week is the 5-year anniversary.
Next week we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary, and then the week afterwards
into year 6.
There will be many things for you to enjoy with the transition to year 6.
A lot of things happening. So be excited about that.
Yeah.
So Barbara Streisand, I forgot to put that on the list of things.
I mean, like, I don't really think that it, like, deserves much more than a couple sentences worth of, boy, did she ever step in like every opportunity to try and turn it around and just...
And then she made an apology, and the apology was, like, not great either. It's like, you had time to go talk to somebody and formulate this. And
her apology was, like, terrible, like, because it did that thing where, like, you apologize, but then still say the thing that you were apologizing for.
Yes,
it's just like, I'm really sorry that my words got misconstrued, but those families really did profit from Michael Jackson, and he was a wonderful man. It's like, no,
I think that's what you should do.
Now is not the time for that.
No. But also maybe just no comment. I don't, it's in the news. I don't know how much Barbara's in touch with everything.
So it's interesting that Barbara stepped in it this week, because there was a lot of talk of the Streisand effect with Devin Nunes. Did you hear about this?
No.
Devin Nunes, loyal Trump congressman in California, complained recently, filed a lawsuit against Twitter and 2 Twitter accounts.
Okay.
Devin Nunes' mom and Dennis Nunes' cow.
Okay.
Saying that that Twitter, being the named defendant in the suit, has a liberal bias, and no matter what a conservative does, their things are always going to be pushed lower, and AOC is always going to be higher.
Sure. Okay.
Because Twitter wants that the way it is, and he wants to look at their algorithm to find out, like, why this happens, which is going to get thrown out immediately.
Yes.
It's a huge joke suit.
Yeah.
But then he also, sort of as like a separate part to this, said that there were, like, accounts that just say fake and fraudulent things, and are being taken as serious. But because he named the Twitter accounts in the suit, everyone just started following Devin Nunes' cow, which is the only one that's still active. And now Devin Nunes' cow has more Twitter followers than Devin Nunes himself. And
God, I love the internet.
It's the Streisand effect thing all over again, where, like, Barbara was just like, I really wish people wouldn't talk about where I live, because I don't appreciate all the helicopters, like, over my house all the time.
And nobody knew where she lived.
And then all of a sudden, all the helicopters started showing up around the house. It's like, this is not the way to do it.
Not a way to go about it. But I love the internet. Oh, by the way, also, Jack is clearly a white supremacist. I don't know why you would think Twitter would have a left bias. Definitely has a right bias.
Anytime anyone says something about, like, why there's not a right bias on Twitter, it's because, like, most people, just generally speaking, lean a little bit more left.
Yeah.
I think just as a world, we can say that if there was only 2 choices and you could only be a Republican or a Democrat, and it's not, like, about, like, like, you have to pick the one that best suits you, there would be more Democrats than Republicans.
I think so.
But it's... like, the reason why AOC is so popular is because she's just really good at Twitter. Many politicians are not naturally good at things. Like, it's like athletes being funny.
Yeah.
It's like, if you find an athlete who every once in a while tells a joke, you're just like, wow, he's really funny. But, like, he's not, like,
he's funny in comparison to everybody else.
Professional comedian,
I do think also that generally speaking, those on the left are on the internet more. I don't think that the guy in South Florida who's a Trump supporter is on Facebook maybe, but he's not on Twitter. He has no interest.
I mean, like just generally speaking, I feel like Twitter works better for like AOC can tweet something like this is why post some article and say like this is why I'm fighting every day for middle class people in my district because they're never going to get a fair shake. And it's very inspirational. Whereas Devin Nunes is always just like, they didn't give me a straw at a restaurant and they said it's because they're trying to save the planet and fuck them, I want a straw.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of a response do you expect? You're just going to get like, a certain number of people just retweeting you because and liking you because, and then you're going to get people who just respond with like, yeah. The comments.
I was going to say, the other thing is I feel like the left gets a lot of hate
like
follows.
Suck it Nunes or.
The left gets a lot of hate follows.
Yeah.
And like AOC, probably a quarter of her followers are just following her to be like, this bitch and all the shit. But we just don't do that.
I didn't follow her for the longest time. I feel like I finally like actually hit the follow button like a couple weeks ago on her.
I don't follow her.
But it's like I see her all the time because it's either somebody on the right who I'm following on Twitter who's just like, I hate this stupid bitch, and then retweets exactly what she said. Yeah. Or it's somebody on the left who just liked it or retweeted it and now it showed up in my feed. It's just like...
Well, and I think that I have the same policy about, same, because I don't follow her. I also don't follow Donald Trump, but I somehow get his tweets in my timeline every single day. So
without trying,
I feel like I get to see it without giving him an extra follower. Yeah. But I do feel like the right goes beyond that. They want it. And they wanted to see it at the top of their stream because they want to hate on it. So in the end, it's maybe there's a little more support because of that as well. But
I mean, I just think it's popular right now for Republicans to act like they're persecuted, and it's the same playbook as the Christians have done. Like act like you're persecuted, and then you're never like.
It's hard to be a white man in this country. So hard to be a white man. Anyway, but
it's like not like the Catholic Church did anything to or the fucking Jehovah's Witnesses too.
With that.
Oh my God. Yeah, that one's for another day.
By the way, just stop with religion. Can we just stop with religion just altogether? Honestly, just altogether. It's all corrupt. But anyway.
It's like Baltimore city government.
Oh, wait. It is like Baltimore city government as I hit the wrong thing here. There we go. We're back.
It's like always going to be corrupt.
Yes. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves and let time get away from us, let's start out the show as we probably should with a little. All right.
So let's get the unexciting part of this out of the way first, shall we? The Orioles season starts on Thursday. That will be opening day for most of the majors. And
they'll be out of first place by Friday and probably out of the hunt by May. So let's look forward to that, Orioles fans.
Well, I was going to say, do you have a prediction for the season? We won 47 last year. Are you going over or under that number?
I mean, so it's hard to go under that number.
Yeah.
I do think that they're going to win more games than that because I don't think that they're going to... There was a sense at the beginning of the season that it was like, let's try extra hard because, we're losing some, but we can come back and win it. I think this season's going to be a lot of like, let's just play and see what happens. And I think there might have been a sentiment of like, let's save the pitching staff for later. No, just put them out there. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what goes.
Let's see what happens. And why not send that guy to third? You know what I mean? Like, we didn't. I think there was a lot of conservative.
There's going to be
baseball.
A lot of spring training baseball going on in the regular season.
Yeah, maybe just till All-Star break. Just why not send that guy to third and just see what happens?
Listen, we think the two-seam fastball would be a really good pitch for you in a couple years. Why don't you go out there and just throw all two-seam fastballs today?
All two-seam fastballs.
Just work on it a bit.
What's up.
We're playing the Yankees. We're going to lose. Just throw it out there. Let's see what happens.
Work it around a little bit. Maybe see how your control is with it. But all fastballs all day.
Just start doing ridiculous things with Chris Davis when it looks like the contract is an albatross and you're going to have to cut him. It's just like, maybe you can play shortstop. I don't know.
What do you need for?
Maybe he's just really talented at shortstop and we never knew this whole time. Let's play him at shortstop. Why not?
I feel like that's something we should do. Right field?
And then he's Andrelton Simmons all of a sudden. And it's just like, damn, Chris.
Dude. We're going to get our $164 million worth one way or another. But I just feel like it's going to be hard to be less than 47 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to break 100 wins.
So somewhere between 47 and 100.
So 81 puts them at
I wonder
50.
if I can put that in Vegas. More than 47, less than 100. Can we get double odds on that, or is it?
81 puts them at 500, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's cut the pie a little more and say I don't think they're going to get 81 wins either.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Yeah. Well. So let's say if you gave me an over/under at 75 games, I would have a hard time picking that. I think that's my magic number. That's my
So
they're in the zone.
So drastic improvement from last season.
I mean, a 23 game improvement. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of agree with you there. I feel hard saying really honestly, it feels like it's a 58 win team.
Yeah.
But there's something about this team that just seems like plucky that I like. And plucky doesn't necessarily mean talented or built to win or anything like that. But it's like, you remember when Jeff Fiorentino used to win us a couple games? Or Luis Matos would hit a clutch 3-run home run and you squeaked out one that you shouldn't have against the White Sox when they were on a 10-game winning streak or something. That's a lot of what I feel like. It's not going to be, as I feel like last year, just literally everything went wrong.
Yeah.
The wheels
can't
fell
be that
off
bad.
Immediately after starting the thing. And there's no way that you can really, that's not the indicative of the team.
The old adage says you win 54, you lose 54.
Yeah.
It's the other 54 that matter. That means that every break had to go against them. And then also they lost some games
An
that they should have
additional
won.
7 games.
Yes. So, I mean, maybe. I do think it can't get worse. So
I'll put it at 60, just as a number.
I think 60 is a safe number.
60 and 102.
And okay,
But I'm still going to go to Vegas and put at least $20 on them to win the American League.
I mean, the odds only after the spring training, the odds only have to get better, right? After Vegas sees how they did in spring training.
It would be wonderful if Trey Mancini hurt himself the first week.
Anybody?
I'm not wishing any ill will on anybody,
no.
obviously, but I'm saying best player on the team gets hurt opening weekend. Maybe those odds drop down to 20,000 to 1 or something, and I'm just right there in the catbird seat, my $20 bet.
Everybody in Vegas is what does this guy do that we don't know as the playoffs approach and the Orioles are 19 games up like it's 2014 again? Was it 2014 we were 19 games up?
It wasn't that many, but it was a good number.
I remember. Oh, those days.
Remember when Ubaldo clinched it for us?
Oh,
Talking about Jeff Fiorentino moments and stuff.
Yeah. So as we approach the 5-year anniversary, what I realized is that we are nearing also the point at which we've done it longer in LA than we have than we did in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, it's
realize
about 50-50.
We're almost at 50-50
Yeah.
because it was November of 2016. So that would have been 2 years plus
half a year. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're gonna have to do the math, but it may just be that we broke down almost exactly.
That's crazy.
Half there
It feels like we've been deep below the earth in Parkville, Maryland for
so long.
way longer than that.
I know. It's crazy, but so we've almost been here as long. But
I do want to say one last thing before we move off the Orioles into other related sports ball. I am obviously upset that I can't be home for opening day, as I am every single year. I can't be home for opening day.
Which, by the way, I think is why I don't care so much. It's not that I don't care. It's just that one, the team's not great.
Yeah.
So the season I'm not looking forward to, but also we're not going. So
it makes it hard for you to yearn for something that you can't be a part of.
I'm less invested.
Yeah.
And one thing that Roxy brought up is that we should go to we should plan now to go to spring training next year, because I think it'll get everybody a little more into baseball and ready for the season if we just go for a weekend.
So we would go to Arizona or something like that. And see.
Let's go.
Go to Florida.
Let's go to Florida.
Okay.
We found a flight in January for $120 round trip, but we were just I don't know about it. I don't know. And then we hem and haw a little while, and the next thing you know, it's
$300.
$450. And you're well, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. But we could get a hotel and we could do that.
Go to the Siesta Keys.
Yeah, but we could do a long weekend, a Thursday to a Monday for probably $350.
Yeah,
not
that's not so bad.
Not food and stuff, but with
Yeah,
the hotel.
yeah. Just the actual planning of the
car, hotel, and flight. That's not bad. And Siesta Key is very nice, you guys, if you haven't checked it out.
the whole Sarasota area is very nice.
Yes. Anyway, sorry. Opening day.
The one thing I'm really going to miss, and I'm for sure going to go find it out when I get home. Have you heard about the Fancy Clancy IPA?
No.
That they're releasing?
No. IPA, I'm not interested.
Well, no, I understand that part. But Fancy Clancy, the legendary Oriole Park Beer Man and Memorial Stadium Beer Man before that has a namesake IPA. Hold on, I'm trying. Are you pulling it up there?
I am.
I think it's doing lots of things to the screen too.
It is. I'm going to try to work fast.
Or Flancy Pilsner, maybe? I don't know.
Let's go to studio mode, and we're going to get back into 2-shot and then transition. Hey, there we are. What's up?
You're going to have to see this, the thing for the draft. It is classic. I kind of want to just buy the draft thing, just so I can have...
Okay, so yeah, that's the guy I was picturing. I know that guy, but apparently it does not have the tap, which is what we. Or the internet is already. Oh man, what is this doing to my video? Trying to load freaking. All right, Baltimore Sun, you have the worst goddamn website ever.
Don't worry about that. It's not that important that you see it. I'll put it in the show notes.
Sure.
And everyone can
everybody
see it
go check out the story of the Fancy Clancy IPA.
I mean, at Images does it. Maybe it's the IPA part.
It could be.
Anywho.
I think we're about to be interrupted, by the way. I hear people outside that sound familiar.
Nope, not anywhere there. I'll find it. I'll find it.
All right, go ahead. I'm just looking. You're doing your thing. Go ahead.
Other part of Sports Ball real quick. So we spent all off season going, when are Manny Machado and Bryce Harper going to sign? And this is killing us. And how are baseball fans supposed to get excited, or how are Oriole fans supposed to get over this unless we know where Manny's going? Because, if he signs with the Yankees, it's way different than if he signs with the Padres like he ended up doing.
Yeah. And we all thought he was going to the Yankees. Go for that paycheck, boy.
But then after Bryce and Manny sign, a huge slew of people, of huge stars in Major League Baseball, re-sign contracts with the teams that they're already on. Paul Goldschmidt signs a huge contract. Chris Sale, Verlander, who else was there? Trout. Obviously, the biggest one is Trout, 12-year, $430 million contract.
Whew. Whew.
It always reminds me of the Simpsons line. There was it was Harry Shearer on a podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And they said, he said something, the question was, why are you holding out for so much money? Like, what's the point of
when they were
what's the point of trying to get more money out of this? And he's going like, listen, it's hard to explain to normal people, and I don't mean normal as like stupid people or anything like that. It's hard to explain to somebody who's not in this business how much money Simpsons means to Fox.
Yes.
It made the network.
Yeah.
It was a nothing network, and then Simpsons came on and has been on for nearly 30 years and has carried the network the whole time.
Yep.
And the amount of money that has come in related to the Simpsons is billions of dollars. And we're just asking for a slice of it. And it's totally fair to be completely overpaid and underpaid at the same time.
Yep.
And that's basically where we are, where we can be paid $100 million a year, and it doesn't even come close to what we did to help make this show possible,
Okay. Yeah.
Like, in terms of, like, the money Fox will make.
I think I'm going to disagree with you, but go ahead.
No, but I'm saying he was saying that, but it's also sort of like,
Simpsons.
you don't want to take $100 million a year either, because that's completely ridiculous amount of money for any one person to have.
Yeah.
But, like, it's like, where do you find that comment or that in-between of, like, what you're actually worth to something to what you should get paid?
Yeah, I mean, what would it be without the 99 characters that Harry Shearer plays? And I think we had to learn, right? Because he didn't come back.
No, it was somebody else. I can't remember.
But anyways, what are you going to do? Are you going to eliminate half your cast of characters because the guy who does the voices
because you don't want to pay $10 million to...
Yeah. And I mean, like, or are you going to say, every single episode we make, I don't know, $70 million. Let's pay these guys $1 million an episode. Because, by the way, although we have 17 characters that appear, one guy does the voice of 11 of them, and then we have one person who does one person who does one person who does one. Like, let's just pay him $1 million an episode. Who cares? Because we're going to make 70.
Yeah.
And, by the way, then that's also going to renew interest in the fucking theme park, because we went to Universal, and I went on a ride where I heard Simpsons voices.
But I'm saying it was a huge thing for, like, a Friends cast to get $1 million an episode. Yeah. But at the end of the day, NBC was making way more than $6 million on every episode of Friends. So it's just like $6 million was like nothing compared to what they were making in the end for every episode.
And in fact, they tried to renegotiate for the last bit or the last 4 episodes because apparently the ad buy for the last 4 episodes of Friends was like Super Bowl money. It was like $100 million for the night of the last episode of Friends. Like, can you imagine that? By the way, TV. People were watching TV. Just sitting and watching TV in their living rooms.
Waiting for it to come on at a specific time and place.
Sitting there at 7:55, like just waiting for Friends.
It starts in 5 minutes, guys. You getting excited?
Get that popcorn ready. Racing home. Knocking children out of strollers in crosswalks to make sure I got home for Friends.
Yeah. I think I will say this. I do think it's good that so many players decided to re-sign because I hope that this sort of puts the onus on major league owners from now on to make more of a concerted effort to like keep somebody.
When's the next collective bargaining agreement?
Oh, it's coming up soon. It's like 2 years from now.
Yeah, see, a lot of those guys I think put themselves over the next CBA, right? Like get yourself locked into the CBA's locked
like
in.
Grandfather yourself in before a CBA.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's like instead of waiting for the market to see what happens, it's like, hey, I know I like this deal now and I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and also, if you're a pitcher, like you're Chris Sale, you could blow out your arm next year and you're done. And you never get another paycheck.
All of the money's guaranteed.
Yeah, it's hard not to want to lock yourself down for $100 million.
That's what one of the things that I don't know if you brought it up last week or if we were talking about. Mike Trout could have gotten far more than he got. He got the largest contract in sports history.
Yeah.
But could he have gotten more? Absolutely.
Oh yeah. But the problem is that it would have been an entire offseason of Trout waiting while teams like try and like wait each other out.
Yes.
And that's and there would be a whole lot of like, Royals will be like, I guess we'll give Mike Trout 10 years and $300 million. And he's just like, yeah, that's
You're not even in the ballpark.
That's not an offer. That's not a real offer.
You're not even in the ballpark. But I mean, again, then there's the aspect
It's like when I get an email from somebody just going like, yeah, I'd be like, we really need a sound guy for tomorrow. And he needs to have all the equipment and we can only pay $75 a day. And I'm just like, gonna be looking for a while.
Good luck.
That's
Good luck.
Tough sell.
But I think the other thing is though, like if he got more than he got, let's say he got more.
Yeah.
At what point are we just talking about ridiculous amounts of money? Like when Alex, was it Alex or Derek that got the contract that was biggest before this?
Oh, Rodriguez? Alex Rodriguez? Yeah.
Like the one that was like
10 years, $275 million.
Yeah. $250 million. And they were talking about like, they're going to have to offer somebody ownership of the franchise to beat this kind of deal. Like no one has that kind of money. But I mean, I guess he spread it across 13 years or whatever it is, 12 years. But again, if Mike Trout hits a double.
The other thing too is that like, I feel at this point with a transcendent player like Trout, you can't let him walk away. Right. You have to just like, especially if you're marketing yourself as a Los Angeles franchise, you can't be the cheap one who lets Mike Trout walk away, But
again, if you're Mike Trout, do you play this game and go 1 year till somebody offers you the big money and risk hitting a double in your first at bat on Thursday, turning the corner at first and Joe Theismanning on the fucking around the corner? Because you know what? Right now, the Angels are on the hook for all of it.
Yeah.
If he gets injured this season, he just has to show up ready to play and have them be like, no, we can't have you play.
If Trout gets hurt, he still makes $430 million.
No matter what. So, I mean, like, yes, he could have held out. Yes, maybe he could have got more, but he's guaranteed that money
also,
now.
I think he's just happy. Like, he
that?
just seems to like be like in a position. He's a good guy who just likes to go home to his little place in Millville, New Jersey or whatever. And he just likes to be a small town guy in the off season. And I feel like for some people, the money just isn't really all that important. And it's like, if you're making enough to, have your great-great-grandchildren go to college without ever having to take out a loan.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you care?
I mean, honestly, you're
whether or not it's $40 million a year, $45 million a year, Like,
I don't know his individual story, but I'm guessing Mike Trout is middle to working class guy. So he's created intergenerational
There's
wealth.
probably more discussion happening with Mike Trout saying you have to ask for more because that will help other players get paid in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a level of like, hey, you can't take 380
you can't
million.
take $10 million a year,
Yeah.
Mike. I know you like the Angels, but you just can't do that. You have to take $40 million a year.
You're hurting everyone else if you take that little. And by the way, you need to create intergenerational wealth for not only you, but basically that whole town that is basically depending on him. Like he's paying property taxes on like a huge ridiculous house.
And we need a new home of Mike Trout sign out front.
Yeah, listen, Mike. So fire truck needs some tires.
$200 million in tax money raised.
Notice that you put a shed on the house there. Turns out we just passed this shed tax. It's $10 million per shed. Only on this one section of grass. I don't know.
Across the street, there's a guy erecting a shed.
What now? What?
He's like, we weren't talking to you, Billy. In fact, if you could just go in your house for a couple minutes, we'd like to not see something while we're having this conversation.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he's supporting his whole family by the way, and that's forever money. That's money that you will never, if you're smart, your family will never run out of. And until your great grandchild is, blowing a dude and they put it on the internet.
Just think about this. Like, if $430 million, say he just had $100 million of that, like carved away for living expenses for the rest of his life, right?
He only spends $100 million of that.
I'm 30 years old right now. Yeah. I live to be 100, so I have $100 million that I got to get over these next 70 years.
Let's just call it 70. You're going to spend $1 million a year.
Okay, $1 million. I have $1 million a year in which to live on.
Yes,
like to eat food and to pay my mortgage and to own a car and like
out of 430 leaves $360 million.
Yeah, and if you invested that money, you could. There's countries that don't get that much wealth.
Yeah, and again. So forgetting about taxes because he's also going to pay half that in taxes. So let's say he
especially for being in California.
He walks with $215 million. That's the kind of money that, as you put in the bank.
Do you ever think that a player in Mike Trout's position, like if he was a dick, like if he was a Bryce Harper, I feel like Harper might have been more inclined to do this type of move where he's just like, listen, I really like to re-sign your deal, but playing in LA, playing in California, these taxes are killing me. You think we can move this franchise to Wyoming or something, or Delaware? I mean, doesn't Wilmington need a team?
All of a sudden, he
starts going in. He's just like, all right, part of my contract negotiation is these are the 4 states you're allowed to move the team to: Texas, Florida, Wyoming, Delaware. No income tax. Go ahead, give me your offer.
I mean, Florida's got baseball teams. Yeah. We forget sometimes, but they do. They have baseball teams already. So does Texas. He could go play there. They don't have the money to pay him, but
he might make more in the long run just by not having state income tax.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. Take half as much, but it's where you live, not where you earn. Sometimes you get double tax, but depending on the state. But if he said, hey, I'd love to move to Texas before I sign this contract officially, let me move there and establish a residence, and then I'll move in. Wouldn't
it be hysterical if some team that plays in like a market where they can't pay the taxes? It's just like when the Angels went to the LA Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah.
Technically they still live in Anaheim, but they're going to call themselves the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Imagine if like the Mets are just like, yeah, we're the New York Mets for tax purposes. We're Wilmington Mets.
We're the Wilmington Mets of Queens. That's
we just play a little bit outside of town. All right. Well,
when that Acela train really gets rocking, it'll be easy to get down to Wilmington. I mean, Joe Biden talks about it all the time. So, but yeah. So good news is off season's over. Bad news is
we have to watch Orioles baseball again.
Yeah, we have to watch Orioles baseball. So, and that's it for sports ball. So, getting into the meat of the discussion today, which
what everyone tuned in for.
I really could not care less about. This whole thing is just stupid. But okay. So, big announcement this week. Bob Mueller finishes his investigation. And much as Corey predicted from the very beginning, he walked up to the lectern and he said, everybody, thank you for your patience. I'm now ready to unveil the
Dick Bob's-
17.
Big Dick Bob's got some things to say.
I got some shit to say now. No, he quietly submitted his report to the Department of Justice and has not been heard from since. And everyone who's
to be fair, he hadn't been heard from before. There was a whole
true.
Weekend at Bernie's level of the Mueller investigation that was going on.
But to all those who thought he was a savior, joke's on you.
Welcome to American jurisprudence.
So welcome to America, where the points are made up and
the rules
are made up and the points don't matter. Yes, there we go. So Mueller report's out.
Yeah.
And what's it say, Corey?
Well, we don't know.
Oh, okay.
So this is here's the hysterically funny part. And this is another thing that like I feel like I should have just sort of played out this version of the chess moves in my head.
Yeah.
But Mueller being such a by the books kind of guy that he was just going to turn in all his findings to the Justice Department.
Yeah, of course.
I should have just like immediately thought about that, but
No, not a peep.
Yeah.
The only reason we know that the report was turned in is because constitutionally and under federal law, the DOJ has to notify Congress that it was done.
Yeah.
And his initial, Bob Barr, DOJ.
Bill Barr.
Bill Barr.
Yeah.
Who's Bob Barr? Is he a congressman? I feel like he's not important. But the DOJ just sent their like short quip that said, yes, the special investigation's done, and we'll be following up with a further recommendation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have known.
There was a 4-page letter that had a couple. I mean, like the long strokes of it are there was no evidence to support.
Wait. You're talking about the second letter. He
the
sent a
4-page.
first notification that was very short, just saying, hey, investigation's done.
Yeah.
But we'll be following up with a longer letter now that we have it to review. And that's when everybody was like, oh, the investigation's done? Well, I would have thought that he would have had a press conference of some kind.
You should have seen. I switched around all the networks because now I'm on YouTube TV, so I got more news networks. I was switching between all of them.
Exactly what a Hausfrau needs. More news networks. Jesus Christ.
I was slipping through all of them when the report came in, and it was like we could be looking at good news on CNN, and on MSNBC it was 100% good news is coming, and on Fox News it was just sort of like patiently. It's just like, well, let's see how it happens.
Let's see how it rolls out.
Let's see what goes on. And then once they started releasing things, all of them seemed to go a little bit crazy with their different leans. It was hysterical.
The problem though is we don't know anything. Nothing got leaked. There hasn't been a single damn leak.
We know. So what we know is we know what Bill Barr has told us. He gleaned from the report.
Which, by the way, stop taking that as gospel. Like, what the fuck?
The
guy who's appointed by Trump, by the way. Appointed by Trump because he fired the
Steve
previous
Mnuchin
one.
said there weren't any charges, so I think we're just going to roll with it. Like,
I mean, by the way, this is American society. The police have investigated themselves and found that they did nothing wrong. Now, stop looking at us and turn away, please. Thank you.
I sold those books legally.
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay, we'll get to that. But no, the guy who was appointed by Trump because he fired the guy who didn't do what he said.
Yeah.
And then was replaced temporarily by the guy who also didn't do what he said. So he put somebody else in there who would do what he said, has said that there's nothing in the report that's damaging to Trump. That's what we're looking at.
The other thing is too that while the letter that Barr sent out, so that's what we're taking as the news right now. The letter that Barr sent out basically said nothing on Russian collusion, no evidence, at least for no evidence that could be used as a charge. Essentially, was
against the Trump campaign,
right?
Yes.
And then on the question of obstruction of justice, it was basically said it was like a bang bang call at first.
Yeah.
Like it's they're basically how I looked at how this played is it's clearly obstruction of justice. There's no doubt that it was obstruction of justice. The problem is, what are we doing about it? I made the example of if you constantly walk like 5 inches outside of the crosswalk when you're crossing the street, technically you're jaywalking.
Yes.
Legally you're jaywalking. But it's the type of thing you would never ever get called on. So is it where is our problem? Especially if Mueller is not finding enough to charge on the collusion front, then it underpins what the obstruction of justice is really. It basically Trump made another bonehead move. Is essentially he caused a lot of attention to be drawn to himself, and he didn't need to have it by firing Comey right at that exact moment.
I am looking for this retweet that I had that was so good. Ugh, damn it! All I can find is the tweets that you and I were going back and forth about. It was basically him saying we acknowledge that a theft from a TV truck, a shipment full of TVs has been stolen. Someone associated with you gave them the route of the truck full of TVs.
Yeah.
The TVs are in fact in your home. Someone benefited from the sale of these TVs. It's like all of these things, but we're not going to call it the thing. Yeah. We're just going to say this happened.
Yeah.
This happened. And we can't connect any one person to it, basically. But again, that is the interpretation of Bill Barr, not the report itself. We don't know what the report says.
Here's the if I am somebody who is in the position of hating Trump and wanting harm to come to him, either in terms of jail time or humiliation or losing of money or blah 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 blah, Mueller is not where the best case version of this retribution comes. The best version of this retribution comes from the Southern District of New York.
Eventually, sometime.
If Trump loses re-election, he can be charged.
Which he's not.
I'm saying
he's going to win. He is going to win re-election in 2020.
If he loses re-election, then he can be charged the first day he's not president anymore with campaign finance violations and be thrown in jail immediately.
Okay.
Emoluments clause cases, which are already being heard in court, which will take a couple years to get through after appeals and blah, 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 all that, will... if defended correctly, could definitely result in a financial punishment for the Trump organization and Donald Trump personally. And I would say that, isn't there a double jeopardy thing that would happen if the Congress pressed charges on him for something? Is that a completely different?
It's a different thing because it's not proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It's proving that Congress believes that he is derelict in his duties and he is guilty, not guilty under law, but guilty in the eyes of Congress of high crime or misdemeanor.
Right.
That's it. And so you could say, well, under federal law, here are the 12 things that you need to be considered guilty of treason.
Yeah.
But if Congress says, you know what, we don't need those 12 things, we are going to say, based on the evidence we've heard, you are guilty of treason.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through, here are the 12 things, and that's why. It's, we believe that he is guilty of treason.
We're going to vote on it.
We're going to vote on it, and we're going to get him out of office. It's not about guilt because, by the way, conviction does not lead to jail time. Yeah. It's out of office only. That's the only punishment.
Right.
So,
but I'm saying you can't charge yet again if
you absolutely could.
Say if Trump did the shot somebody on Fifth Avenue example.
Okay.
Right now was in New York, shot some guy on Fifth Avenue.
Sure.
Congress would definitely pull up impeachment proceedings on that. And then that would probably pass and then move on to the Senate where they would have to decide whether they wanted to convict Trump of the crime that would impeach him from office.
Yes.
Then would it be New York that would handle the murder case?
Yeah.
So it would just be a release from the presidency, and then as soon as you're a citizen again, you're getting charged with murder.
I do think the president can be charged with murder.
But the fact that there is not a 100% clear legal argument for that to be the case. I mean, there are people out there, Bill Barr included, by the way, who are under the opinion that the president cannot be charged for anything, regardless of how felonious it may be.
That's why he's attorney general, by the way, because that's his belief. But that's also because we're not used to dealing with a situation where the president would be guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. It's thought that the person who would be elected to this office would be beyond that. Yeah. But we are wrong about that, apparently. So
I will say this. I think that if there's a silver lining of Trump's horrible corruption, then it is that I think that there's a wave that is beginning now that will take way longer than it should to fully crest. But I think that at some point in the future, we will find a way as a society to move away from like the moneyed interests in politics and more towards a sort of like not state funded version, but like a limit system on like campaign.
But at what cost?
What do you mean at what cost?
I mean, today, Trump, in a joint announcement with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, acknowledged through executive fiat that the Golan belongs to Israel.
Okay.
So an area that's been disputed and an area for which the United States has stayed out of the discussion of the ownership of the Golan. Now the U.S. is taking the position officially that the Golan belongs to Israel.
Yeah.
Which justifies everything taken during the 1967 war, including the West Bank and Gaza.
Yeah.
And the occupation of those two places. So essentially by going and acknowledging that the Golan belongs to Israel, we are justifying the fact that occupation of the West Bank and Gaza are now fine. And maybe in turn, we are saying it's okay. Everything that they're doing in these areas is okay. And is it okay to say, well, listen, 10 years from now, campaign finance will be changed and these kind of presidents won't come in and we'll have good presidents again. Is it worth the 10 years of suffering worldwide, the war in Yemen, the war against the genocide of the Palestinians, everything that's happened in Iraq, things that are happening in Iran, calling Iran a terrorist state, making peace with North Korea, which I think is fine, but requiring denuclearization for that to be the case. Like ignoring climate change past the point of no return in 2 years. If we cut out all carbon emissions, 100% of carbon emissions in 2022, we will only cause sea rise by 1 meter, which means that only 1/4 of the world's population will be underwater in 100 years. We are not going to hit zero. We're not going to hit zero emissions, and we're not doing anything about it. And the United States is certainly not leading that. So at what cost will we change?
This is always the problem, and it will continue to be the problem. And this is not a problem that is immune from party.
Sure, I mean, the Democrats are just as bad. I'm not saying that they're a solution.
I mean, like, so take it like this. Healthcare, like the major fight for like sort of a nationalized healthcare system in this country started in the 90s. Started like really in
70s.
Well, I mean, there were 70s versions where it was a push towards more of a public option, but not like to the same
40s.
Well, not the same version as the socialized medicine that we see in many other major countries in the world.
Well, no, in 1940s, that's when the push was to create a national health service, just like the UK. But because we weren't as damaged by World War II, we thought it wasn't necessary because everyone was working and everyone got insurance through work. So this system can never fail and never be abused.
Yeah.
So let's just continue to do this. Why would we create a public health system? And then in the 70s, they said, okay, so when recession comes and people lose jobs, that impacts their livelihoods. It also impacts their health insurance. So let's figure out a way we can help that. Maybe we should talk about a public option. And they said, okay, well, wait, what if we just say temporarily that people who are impoverished can qualify for Medicaid, or people can qualify for Medicare early, or thanks, Google, or maybe, some other kind of help or services. And then they said, okay, well, what if we could just let you keep your insurance when you get laid off or when you get fired?
Yeah.
And that'll never be abused. So you don't have to worry about that. By the way, did you get COBRA coverage?
No.
From your last job?
No.
Did you look into what it would cost?
No.
No. If I were to get fired or get laid off from my current job, I could keep my health insurance, which right now costs me $111 a month with my $20 copay. And I could keep it at a rate of $2,700 per month.
Ooh.
So, bit of an uptick on Cobra. Bit of an uptick. Nonetheless,
I did the thing too where I had health insurance at Andy Nelson's at one point.
Yes.
And I was just like, this is great. This is wonderful. It feels good to be insured and blah, blah, blah. And I was paying like $150 a paycheck.
Yeah.
So $150 a week. So $600 a month.
Oh, no, that couldn't be right.
It was a very bad plan.
That's a lot. Why would you do that?
Well, it got even higher the next month or the next year. So I was just like, nope, can't afford it anymore.
Nah, I'm out of that. I'm bailing out of that. Okay. But nonetheless, so then in the 90s, again, Hillary Clinton brought it to the forefront.
Yeah.
Only because it was the first time a Democrat held both houses of Congress since Jimmy Carter. So it was like, we have a chance to get this bitch passed.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then you put Hillary in charge, and she flubbed it, just like she does everything.
But I'm saying, like, the idea of electing a president and him doing something that disappoints you is not new.
No.
I mean, we elected Obama on hope and change, and then got thousands of dead people in drone strikes.
Yep.
We elected Bill Clinton thinking that it was going to be a new wave for America, and then we get Glass-Steagall turned down.
Yes.
And along, I mean, obviously there's lots of other things too, but I'm saying, like, if you're talking about a broad strokes of presidents doing something that works against the self-interest of the country trying to move forward, then these are things that clearly are, this is never going to stop happening.
Oh,
like you're never,
and
you're
here
never
we get
going,
around. Yeah, you posted on Instagram earlier. You know how we get past this?
Guillotines.
Yes, that's how we move forward. Forget the parties. I don't care if your name is if your initials are AOC or MM. You all end up on the guillotine together. Isn't it nice? Not a real socialist. Just saying, not a real socialist. Anyway, but no, I mean, yes, they're always going to let us down. But your argument is basically, since they're all going to let us down, let's pick the one that we like more to let us down.
I think that we should. I mean, so the problem with Trump, as opposed to other politicians who are going to let us down, is that Trump is dumb and way dumber than anybody else we've had in that office. So the likelihood that he has an easy layup that he screws up tremendously is way higher than Obama, for instance. Obama, if he has the open basket in front of him, is going to make that shot.
Both literally and figuratively, yes.
Trump is not. There is no way that you feel confident, like when he lifts his arms up to make the shot.
Pass it!
Like it's no way. And honestly, we're talking outside, going back to the Mueller report. I feel like there is sort of a Department of Justice procedure that they can't out certain people in a report like this, especially if it's like grand jury testimony or people who are sort of like a line of questioning that went towards whether somebody was guilty of a crime but not substantiated in
hearsay.
any way.
Anything that was hearsay, which is allowed before the grand jury, but not
in a court of law or in
really
the report.
Yeah, and stuff that they would.
But they would include in a report, but not necessarily like.
Yes. And Bill Barr's argument is, even if we were going to release a report, it would take some time to delete out everything that came from a subpoenaed testimony before a grand jury that was not then later confirmed by other testimony or evidence. So.
I'm not completely against the idea that if just the Mueller report just dropped on his desk right now and we went through it, or even if we had a chance to we had Mueller on the 420 podcast and we sat back and enjoyed ourselves and had a long form conversation,
like Elon Musk just let Mueller sit back and
get a little toasty and talk about how he's feeling. I imagine that a lot of these things would come down to Trump and the people immediately around him are all idiots and are constantly causing trouble. And I imagine that there are a lot of take the meeting with Russian informants in Trump Tower between Manafort and Trump Jr. and Kushner. I could totally foresee a way where Don Jr. had that meeting, brought in all these people, and then went to go talk to his dad about it. And it's just like, hey, the Russians said they're going to help. And it's just like, wait, what the fuck? It's just like, I had a meeting with the Russians. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm up to my ears with this Russia shit. And you're doing this? Like,
or he said, great.
Now I gotta fucking protect your stupid ass out on, like, I can't, what do you want me to get my son locked up? And then he's going up. He's just like, oh, I don't know anything about Russian collusion. Nothing. I've never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's trying to keep Don Jr. out of the hot seat. And he's just like.
Or he said, Russian collusion. I'm up to my ears in this stuff. Thank God we have Putin involved now. He can take care of this. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, man, I'm so glad there's not a wiretap in this place.
Carly decided she wants to join us for the podcast.
She wants to say things.
Say hi, Carly. You don't even know how to look in the camera. Okay, here.
Just be cute.
Yeah, get up here and be cute. She was like whining and stuff. Okay. Well, you know how to look into the microphone, I guess. Okay. Yes. Here. You want to get up? Put your feet up there. All right. So, nope. Stop. Just be cute. Just be cute. So, Mueller report.
Yes.
But, here was my point. My point is, if you're going to be let down by somebody, why don't we go with somebody young and full of ideas?
Like Pete Buttigieg?
Buttigieg, who, by the way, numbers 2 on name recognition in Iowa behind AOC. So not doing so well, not doing so bad.
One of the first person isn't even running for president.
Can't even run even if she wants. I mean, though technically Ted Cruz couldn't run either because he's not a citizen.
Ted Cruz!
Set a goal to raise $1 million in 24 hours. Beat it within 24 hours. So he set a goal to raise another $1 million in that same 24 hours. Beat that too. $2 million. He's got 65,000 donations. So he's going to be on the stage doing a debate. This guy.
You know who else is? Andrew Yang.
Okay, yeah, and Andrew Yang.
That's gonna be funny. He's gonna be the Jim Webb of the 2020.
Or the Martin O'Malley. I just feel like he's gonna be the Martin O'Malley. Everybody's gonna be like, Andrew, just sit down, buddy. It's okay. You don't really know what you're talking about.
Carly girl.
You're just looking adorable.
Yeah.
I think the overall arching message I just wanted to get to tonight is that everyone who thought Mueller was going to be a savior, including the guy sitting to my direct right, your left as you're looking at the screen, he's not a savior.
To be fair, anytime I made that joke of him walking up to the lectern and dropping the file cabinet and stuff, or the file folder, the accordion folder,
yes,
and just being like, I got 17 charges to press. I just said that because I thought it was funny. I didn't actually think it was gonna. Never thought that was actually gonna happen.
But and we can't rely. This is the thing. Like we're grasping at straws to. What kind of system of government is this? Like, I'm reminded of Monty Python. How is it that you came to become king? Well, the lady in the lake, she gave me the sword. That makes me king. What kind of government is this? That's basically where we are now. Like, by the way, everything that you hold dear is based upon 2 things. One, the life of an 85-year-old woman who just had cancer surgery before returning to the court. And a former prosecutor who was appointed by a Republican to investigate him, like appointed by the dude who is about to be investigated.
I'm the dude playing the dude.
Yeah, basically. But and I mean, like, why would you think that either one of them are going to be? This is who we are basing our system of government on: the trust and belief in these 2 people. And let's just say that you believe that the report said something different, because honestly, I think Bill Barr is probably like, downplaying what the report might say. And I think that Mueller, to his credit, is probably sitting in his house like, this bitch. That's not what it says. He knows that. Just wait till that full report gets out.
I do feel like, unlike almost any other report in American history, this is if one classified report is going to get released to a news outlet,
it'll be this one.
This one feels like it's got the.
But I mean,
as soon as it starts getting around congressional offices a little bit, I feel like.
Well, the question is it ever going to get around a congressional office?
I mean, it's got to go to the heads of the.
Nope, it does not. He only has to do the summary. They have to be. The DOJ has to be confident that there is no need to forward it to Congress, which is ironic because when that law was written, there was a thought that the DOJ might be a separate part of the government that was not, supportive of the president or of Congress either way. Just, independent.
Its own independent.
And now we got Bill Barr, who believes that the president cannot be held accountable for anything he does while president of the United States. So, so maybe we should rethink that.
Yeah.
But in the end,
that's tomorrow's problem.
It's a problem for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, if it does circulate, if it hits a desk in Congress, it will be on MSNBC. It will be breaking news on Rachel Maddow. We got it. We got the report. Come on back. We're just going to take a quick break. All right, I'm going to read the title page of the report.
I'm going to come back from this break. I'm going to do 45 minutes on Attila the Hun, and then I'm going to tell you about what's in the Mueller report.
All right, we're about to read it. Are you ready? Are you ready to read this report? Title page, Mueller report. Title page. We'll be right back after this.
Starting strong. I like where it began. It made me feel like I was actually reading the Mueller report.
Yes,
because I looked on there.
It did.
And said Mueller report.
And it was dated March 25th. So we know it's accurate. It's an accurate depiction. It's an actual depiction.
It's the actual.
What's that? Yeah. Let's take a break real quick and we'll come right back. We'll have some dialogue about this title page. Okay. So it turns out, just by the way, you guys, all we have is the title page and the page after it.
Here's the question. Do you think that there is a way that you could write up a fake looking Mueller report.
Oh, 100%.
And send it to a news organization and have them.
I think only because I would have no better idea than anyone else what it would look like.
I feel like you would have to be a lawyer to do it because you would have to be able to write in the legalese of the report.
Yes. And the bigger problem would be that, as we were talking about outside, he was not an independent counsel. He was a
special counsel.
Special counsel. And the independent counsel has a certain format in which that report needs to be given. So like the Starr report, for example, would be a good format that you could look at and be like, all right, so for an independent counsel, this is how he presented the case. By the way, Starr reported several things out of his investigation, including Whitewater.
Well,
later on,
so one of the things I enjoyed hearing about after Mueller was done, I feel like in all the cable news coverage, we could have spent a little time talking about this before.
Yeah.
But the difference between a special counsel and an independent counsel
would have been nice.
Is essentially that the special counsel has the very narrow purview of whatever is asked to be investigated of them.
Yes.
So in this case, if there was any obstruction of justice and if there was any connection between Trump and Russia.
Yeah.
The things that Mueller could prove of connections between Trump and Russia, he already charged.
Yeah.
He already got Stone and Manafort and Gates and Flynn and a bunch of Russians. And somebody else, Rudder Stone. Did I say Stone?
Yeah, Stone.
Yeah.
Basically everybody from the campaign.
You know, there was a bunch of ones there, but nothing that tied to Trump directly. And then we're not calling it a crime, but we're not calling it a crime.
Yeah.
Of the obstruction of justice part of this. And when Ken Starr had his independent counsel, he was able to go from Whitewater to Monica Lewinsky to this and that. Like he was able to, as soon as, and so much of his deal, that's along with George Conway and Brett Kavanaugh, is that they would be able to basically, you know, get Clinton to testify in a Whitewater investigation and then get him speaking about things that weren't related to Whitewater and then start investigating those things that he talked about.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's how it works, right? Because the whole Monica Lewinsky thing only got brought in because of during the grand jury, he testified about Whitewater. Well, so that got them into the grand jury testimony. Yeah. And in the grand jury testimony, while that was going on, he was actually seeing Monica in the Oval Office, which got them to Monica.
Well, basically, there was a rumor that was going around that somebody that had donated a lot of money to the Clinton campaign. Yeah. The wife was looking for a job, and Bill Clinton sexually harassed her or sexually assaulted her in the White House. And that Bill and the secretary for Bill Clinton knew about it.
Yeah.
And that opened up the line of questioning inside of the investigation for Whitewater as to whether or not Clinton ever sexually harassed anybody in the White House or had any sexual interaction with anybody in the White House. And he said no. And because he said no, you could get him for perjury.
If you could find somebody who
who said that.
Yes. And then, of course, it was, what's the definition of sexual contact? Because if I use a cigar and not myself, or if I take care of business myself and you just happen to catch, then does that mean sex? Because they never got. I mean, he was acquitted. So,
by the way,
but not acquitted.
Just because I've seen a lot more of Monica Lewinsky recently, both between Last Week Tonight and the Clinton thing that was on CNN. She has done a remarkable job of keeping herself so composed and so normal after essentially having the entire world fall on her. I always felt bad for her. And
imagine being 19 and having everybody just be like, hey,
23 or something like that, but still.
Was she? I thought she was younger when it. Like,
no, she was out of college and stuff like that.
Oh. Yeah. So 23, and the entire world is looking at you and saying, "Hey, did you fuck the president? The married president of the United States?"
Well, not only that, but like the amount of like slut shaming that was going on, and like fat Monica Lewinsky jokes and stuff like that, and like I don't know, the whole thing felt odd.
Also, betrayed by your best friend, like the only person in the world you trusted to talk to, and bitches recording you, like no, no.
You should really check that one out. By the way, that was a fascinating like documentary series.
Oh yeah,
about it. Just talking to the woman who said basically it was like a Republican operative who like talked to Tripp and convinced her to start like recording the things, and like this woman is priceless. She's like 80 something years old, and she's just sitting there going like, yeah, I'm gonna bring down the president if I have the opportunity to. That's what I'm gonna do every single day. I don't know why you're looking at me. like I'm some bad guy. When you know I'm going to do this every single day. If I get an opportunity to bring down the Democratic president, I'm going to do it.
Yes. Also, I didn't. I don't know if we mentioned. No, I think I did. The woman who called for a dictatorship under Trump.
Yeah.
So that happened this week too. But I did want to go into, ironically, because of that, the comparisons between Berlusconi in Italy and Trump.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know who Berlusconi is.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't, he's a prime minister. He served through 4 or 5 governments in Italy, which means that he's like widely popular, weirdly wildly popular, and basically not popular amongst anyone, but he's everybody's third choice.
Yeah.
So as these 40 parties are trying to form a government, he can get enough of them together to form a government.
He's the green book of the...
Yes, that's exactly
like enough people like him that he can win the overall thing, but he's not everyone's first choice.
Right. And as soon as he fucks up, then he's out. And so they break up the government and they have to form a new government. But then he gets another different group of people together and forms another government. Anyway, he has... He's been embroiled in a lot of controversy and a lot of, not just controversy, but what would you call it? Gates. He's had a lot of gates in English, if you would. But the comparison is being made to Trump because basically every time that he's in office, he breaks up the government what people say is he's purposely failing the government because the government starts to investigate whatever he's involved in.
Yeah.
Whatever corruption he's involved in. And then he forms a new government with a bunch of people who now trust him again. And then he starts being corrupt again until he gets caught and he breaks it up. And it's like basically what they've said is you overlook so much that by the time you really try to dive into it, he's realized that he's untouchable. And what they say about him is until he decides he doesn't want to be in government anymore, he'll be untouchable. And then that day, when he steps out of government, that's when they'll charge him.
I will say this. I feel like, so there's a couple things that really lighten the load of the Mueller report. Like tying to this thought.
Yeah.
Is because like one of it is that so much information that has just broken in every day, like over the course of the 22 months of this investigation that like have been, proven true or proven like have sources and everything like that. Like that doesn't take away any of what we know about any connection between Trump and Russia.
Right. And I still believe there's a PP tape out there. I still believe it.
And that could very well be true. Yeah. But it's just like the type of thing, like we get these little pieces of information as we go along. And every week there's a new story. Every week on this podcast, we talk about, oh my God, you hear about what happened this week with Trump.
Yeah.
And if it all happened, if we didn't know anything about any of this, and then all of a sudden Mueller had a press conference instead of just quietly releasing the report, but basically said like, all right, here's what we know. And then released every piece of information that we've learned over the last 22 months about the whole Russia thing, we would think that there's no way in the world that he would not be charged with something.
Yep.
If he went up there and he was just like, so there was a conversation that happened between Russian oligarchs and Trump, people at the Trump organization talking about building a $50 million hotel for in Moscow for the Trump organization, and that the possible money could go balloon up to $300 million. And there was conversation about giving Putin a penthouse apartment and said tower and blah blah blah.
And the value of that would have been $1 million.
Yeah, and we hear all this stuff. Like he's just like laying it out, all these things that we learned through the news. Like we just be like, oh my God. But the fact that every single week we get little bits of it. Like just sort of kills the chance of anything happening. I don't know. It feels very, very much like Berlusconi in that sense. That like you forget about all the shit that he did because we move on to the next one so quickly.
And like I said, as soon as he's out of office and somebody is like, "Hey, here's the Pentagon Papers version of what happened over the last 9 years of Berlusconi," everyone's gonna be like, "Oh shit, there's a lot of stuff there."
Yeah.
Let's charge him with something. Okay, great. We're done. We can do that. And Trump may end up being the same thing. Who knows?
Well, I was
your savior is the Southern District of New York. I know you keep saying that.
I was having a conversation with Roberto about it too. There's so much like Trump has an ability, like what Trump's skills are like things that can't be taught.
Okay.
He has like an incredible ability to like slip through bullshit.
Yep.
Like, and you could never teach somebody how to do it as well as he does it naturally. And I mean, he has many fatal flaws as well, but this one thing that he does really well and can't be taught
If he was otherwise a good man, this would be a great skill to have.
It's like how a basketball player is really good at all the things that involve playing basketball, like dribbling and jumping, and shooting hoops and everything like that. And like Trump's really good at like being like an id, like just like uncontrolled like ideas of like how he should react. He's first class at it. The problem is that like his mouth starts moving and then it all goes to shit. If he can control it somehow.
Well, like I said, if he was a good man, it's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
If you were a good person and wanted to do
I don't even
things.
think it works though if you're a good person.
Probably
though.
not. No, because that's
Like,
all
you
higher brain function.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't like you couldn't say like, you know, like, oh, Corey's a really incredible person. He does so much and he cares about everybody. And if I walk into a room and I'm just like, hey, who's the tits on this one? It's just like, and I walk away and you're just like, all right, so sometimes
okay, he's got a little thing, okay?
I mean, like every once in a while he sexually harasses people, but he's a really good people. I mean, like what makes him so good is the fact that he just doesn't control what he says. So sometimes he says something that he shouldn't say. Yes, we all do that from time to time.
But you're all taking it negatively. What if you walked in the room and was like, you know what? Everybody needs health care. Let's make it Medicare for all. Then we'd be like, I like this guy. I don't know what he's.
That just came from your mind?
That just came
like,
out of here. Yeah, and advisors are leaning over there like, Mr. President, you need to keep those ideas to yourself. What are you doing? What are you trying to do? You're trying to not get reelected in 2 years? Come on. You walk out and you're like, you know what? Reparations. I think we need to talk about this.
Save some ideas for the second term.
Let's talk about this reparations situation right now. Can we get some people? Are there any black people here? You, yeah.
Get Ben Carson in here.
No, he's the last person. No, he's the last person I want to talk to. But so it's good to know though.
It's just like, Ben, what do you think about reparations? It's like, oh, I love restoring old cars. It's like, not the same conversation.
Ben, you're too white, Ben. I'm sorry. You've been out of the game too long.
Johns Hopkins wants you back.
Yeah. And I was going to say, speaking of Baltimore, speaking of Johns Hopkins, I guess, roundabout way, a hospital in Baltimore, I suppose. Yeah. And speaking about corruption and controversy, it's not only kept to one party, because in Baltimore, we like to spread it around to both parties. Well, mostly the other party, the Democrats. And for that, we'll take a trip on down to the Baltimore corner.
Where you get the straight dope.
Yes. There we go.
One of these days we'll return.
I'm going to learn which one it is. I'm going to learn the buttons eventually. But just as before we wrap up here, couldn't let the episode go by without talking about, we've covered the last couple of weeks a small controversy involving the current mayor of Baltimore, which has, due to her mismanagement, call me shocked, she mismanaged the situation, has turned into a huge problem.
So before we get too far into it, I have one question to ask you.
Okay.
It was announced today that Mayor Pugh will not be available for a couple days because she has pneumonia.
Yeah, it's strange.
So the question is this pneumonia or is this, quote, pneumonia?
Oh, it's 100% pneumonia. I do like, she was in public a day ago defending everything.
Doing cartwheels, doing great.
Listen, I don't know where you get your information from, but you need to check your sources.
You're like Bird's Eye View had a tweet going like, oh, I think I'm coming down with something.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to hit me real hard as of Thursday. Maybe I should alert my employer.
Let me know.
All of a sudden, Catherine Bugh's going from press conferences where she's like, look how healthy my lungs are, to all of a sudden, like, I have pneumonia.
So yeah, if I ever get into politics.
It's the Sean Suiter version of everyone going like, yeah, sure, you can.
If I ever get into politics, I'm just gonna go through every press conference. Like, yeah, so I do think I think that was a good decision. Thanks. Yeah, Sean. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you completely. Melissa, just because any time, the next time I gotta be like, oh, you know, I had that little cough,
a little walking pneumonia.
I had that cough. It just turned into something. I don't know. So I'm gonna be out of the public eye for the next 2 to 7 weeks, and till this whole thing blows over. Just waiting for Harrison to fuck up, and then I'll be right back out here in the public eye.
Waiting for some cop to shoot some unarmed black kid, and then
there
all
we
of a
go.
sudden, how dare you?
Maybe Sheila Dixon will get back in the news and take all this. I think this all off me.
This is really. I've never thought anybody could out Sheila Dixon, but it happened. And
by the way,
the other. I said literally last week when we talked about this, I was just like, this is so stupid. It's not worth, like, why are we spending so much time on it? If she falls on this, it's the dumbest fucking thing.
And it looks like she's going to fucking
fucking falling it. Like, what the?
But by the way, also, it looks like it's way worse than it first. She could have admitted this and just been done with it and fallen on the sword a little bit and walked away. But now it's like, so it turns out it wasn't 100,000. Turns out it was 500,000. And instead of getting paid in cash, you allowed someone else to get paid, and then you just bought a house for no money, and to avoid taxes. By the way, to avoid paying property taxes and transfer taxes in the city of Baltimore, where you were on the state senate and you wanted to be mayor.
Here's the steps if you want to do this legally, because there's no crime being committed selling these books to the place to the hospital.
Bad form.
It's in bad form, but it's not illegal.
Yes.
So here's the things you have to do. You have to get a check for the amount purchased directly to you, and then you have to tell any legal entity about this money.
Right.
If you're a state senator, like she was at the time when this happened, you have to put it in a financial disclosure report.
Yes.
If you file taxes, you have to put it in your taxes. This is essentially how this works.
There's a very important B here I think you're going to miss too.
She decided to do none of this.
No, well, B, you have to deliver the books that they purchased.
They're in a fucking warehouse.
No, they're not all there. They counted them. There's not even enough. She's like, oh yeah, they're in the warehouse down there, and there's some here, and there's some there, and there's some there. No, there's not even enough for it to justify the cost. So they paid for books and didn't even get delivery of all the books.
Did you hear about the guy who illustrated it too?
Oh yeah, he didn't get paid. He did it for free. It's like you could have killed this whole controversy so early in, and then it's just like you didn't.
My tags expire on Thursday. I'm just going to drive around for a couple months and hope nothing comes of it.
We'll see what happens.
You could totally fix this situation.
By the way, not only just drive around on them, but on Friday, the day after they expire, you're going to stop in front of a cop and be like, "Hey, fuck you." And then drive away and just be like, he's not going to touch me.
Shoot Roman candles at your window.
Because again, like when this first broke, when the first inkling of this came out, she could have been like, you know what? It was improper of me to take that kind of deal. I'm going to let University of Maryland have the books. I'm going to return all the money and be fine.
Or she could do one of those famous, but this is one I haven't seen a politician do in a while. Fire somebody, do that, have a press conference, as soon as it comes out, fire accountant.
Yeah, and I don't know why they didn't report this thing that they had no idea I did.
Yeah, and then go in front of a horde of reporters and be like, listen. I thought I had a casual understanding. I trusted my people too much.
Yep.
Especially my accountant,
who's fine,
did not put this in my taxes. I've already spoken to the government about this, and we're going to correct this issue.
Yep.
With this year's taxes. It was totally unintentional by me. They have an understanding that we're going to fix this. It's totally fine. I accept responsibility for what happened. I'm sorry. It will never happen again. Next question.
Yeah.
And then people would have just been like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and then, oh, by the way, the other big story in Baltimore.
The Baltimore Sun would have just been like, got it, and then moved on to other things.
Honestly, they 100% would have. Because also going on at the same time, the extradition of the man who said a homeless person stabbed his wife so he could cover up her murder, that he connived with his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, Trump wishes there were stories this big to distract everyone. All you got to do is just mea culpa, and be done with it. But you had to go out there and be like, "No, I didn't do anything wrong." And then they kept digging, and they found it.
Do you know how much Trump wishes that there was like a Casey and Anthony trial going on right now that could distract everybody?
Something, just anything.
Oh. And you had it.
You had it.
It was in your fingertips, and you just let it go.
And I mean, like 3 people got shot in 17 minutes in West Baltimore. Like, there's a story. It's a violent place. Like, there's a lot of stuff, but you've ruined it. Now it's going to cost you everything.
Yeah. Going back, by the way, I made the Sheila Dixon thing. I don't know if everyone recognizes what the Sheila Dixon problem was.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The whole thing was there were gift cards that were supposed to go to charity, and Sheila basically grabbed them before they went to the charity and then used them. She used only some of them, right?
Only some. Yeah. So they were had $100 value on it, and she scratched out the 100 and put 25 and spent 75 of it. Yeah. And then I think she kept some of it, but the bigger deal was that she then used it to pay off people from her campaign.
Yeah.
Thank you for donating. Here is a gift bag that was purchased with funds that were donated to something else. Yeah. So That was the campaign the illegal part of it more than anything else was the campaign finance aspect.
Yeah, it wasn't. The illegal part was what she did with the money, not with the
not stealing from the charity. I mean, everybody steals from their charities, just ask the president. But
it's what you decided to do with the money that you stole from the charity that we have problems with.
Very important. Yeah. But by the way, you know who was a huge critic of Sheila Dixon when that whole controversy was happening?
Catherine Pugh.
I want Sheila Dixon to step up and do that Pelosi clap.
I would also like the
yes.
If Catherine Pugh she has to like imagine somewhere in the back. I can't imagine that like politicians don't work. Have you ever done something that you were like a little bit worried about for like weeks?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, somebody saw me running through that red light. Like, like I haven't seen a cop behind me for 10 minutes, so I think I'm okay. I think I got away with this one. But then you keep worrying that next minute you're just going to see cherries behind you. And then
yeah. Have you ever slept in a bed with a girl who was not your girlfriend and didn't have her a couple nights in a row? Secretly?
It's not a secret. Everyone knows about it.
Oh, that's right. Everybody knows it. Okay. That's a deep pull. That's a deep local pull. Anyway, go ahead.
Hyper local.
Very hyper local. Anyway, yes, yeah.
No, but I'm saying like it's like I imagine if I was Pew, I'd just be worried about this like other shoe dropping on this all the time, or like Sheila Dixon. Like
you got to think, right? But that's again, it's
like, oh, I did this almost exact same thing as Sheila did. I'm going to criticize her for it.
You have to
hope that nobody just drops it on me during a press conference where I'm like, excuse me?
I think that after a while, you're just like, you convince yourself you did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I wrote a book. I sold the book. I didn't deliver all the copies. Maybe I got overpaid.
Well, I didn't actually deliver the book to them. I mean, like, how am I supposed to know it didn't make it? Nobody called me.
So, and here's the example I'll use. I was telling a story to some of my students the other day, or not my students, my kids, my coworkers, the people who work for me who are also kids. But I realized that like halfway through the story, I'm like, you know what? I'm 90% sure that this is a Ron Wachowski from college story, but I'm telling it in the first person. And I know that the first time I told that story, it was, hey, Ron, because you know Ron. Yeah. I'm going to tell you about the story from Ron. And then eventually it became a friend of mine from college, but eventually it's like and it's like it naturally evolves.
Like, I tell stories all the time that if they don't necessarily like, so like it would be hard if it's a story that doesn't like Steve famously said like yawned.
Yeah.
And then when I was like, hey, you tired? He's like, no, he just yawns sometimes. Like that's a funny line.
Yeah.
But if I tell people about it, it's sort of hard to go like, so I had this buddy in college named Steve and he was like, but if they know Rob and it's not going to
change the story that much.
Impact their ability to understand Rob.
Yeah.
I could just be like, oh, Rob, this one time he yawned. And I was like, oh, what, are you tired? And he's like, no, just sometimes I yawn. And it's like, it doesn't change anything. I'm just making it easier for somebody to understand.
Yes. And I think that logic.
Because nobody ever goes like, Rob did that?
Like, I think that logic.
Rob's not that funny.
I mean, yes. I would never stoop to that kind of humor. The logic, though, I think that's where we are. It's that like, she maybe was looking over her shoulder for the first little bit. Yeah. And then after a while, she's like, I did nothing wrong. I just sold some books. And eventually she's like out there on stage and she gets off stage and you're like, Mayor, it's highly illegal what you did. And she's like, what? No. What? I just sold some books. It's fine. She's like, no, that's not what you did. That's not what you did. You laundered some money and involved some books and the hospital.
And evaded taxes.
And evaded some taxes. So it's none of that's good. And she's like, no, I sold some books. That's all.
It's like you walk into this room full of rocks and you put over one and it's just like evaded taxes. It's like, I wonder what else. Let's keep flipping these rocks over and see what kind of shadows lie underneath.
And I mean, that's what I just imagine that for the first little bit, she was worried. But then after that, like the lie becomes the story.
Yeah.
Just like the story about someone else becomes a story about me eventually.
The story of every political fall is the cover up was worse than the crime. Like how many times have we heard that?
Yep.
That was all of Clinton. That Monica Lewinsky, the cover up was worse than the crime.
Yeah, in fact,
Like
we never got a solution about Whitewater.
If at some point in that thing it's just like, Clinton, did you ever sexually harass anybody in the Oval Office? Sure did.
Yep. Couple of interns.
Whoa, okay.
Not even the pretty ones. No, I go after the ugly ones. That's what I do.
And it's just like, well, I guess we can't get you for perjury on that.
Like wife knows too. Yeah, we have an understanding.
18 times, motherfucker. 18.
The wife knows you can't even get me. I like that Dave Chappelle skit. Wait, you gonna ask me that with my wife standing right here? Like, no, she knows. You gotta understand it. Power couple. She's gonna be president one day.
Nope. No. Nice try.
So close.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on the out before we leave because we got to wrap it up right now.
Yeah.
You went to see Bernie.
I tried to see Bernie.
By the way, if you guys want a revolution, let me tell you how not to do it. A line that's 4 miles long to get to see a 70-year-old man speak for 2 minutes. That's not the way to get a revolution.
Yeah, so I like political events. I like going to them. I find the energy of them is nice. Mm-hmm. Living in Maryland my whole life, you never really get an opportunity to see them.
Yeah.
Because no presidential campaigns ever stop in Maryland.
Yeah, by
there's
the way,
no reason.
That's with the Electoral College. Imagine without it.
Well, with the Electoral College, it would be, it's still a fairly large state with people.
Yep.
But there would still probably be less people because they would figure that most of them would vote for Democrats. It's just a percentages thing.
Yeah. I mean, right now.
Why focus your time on the state that's going to go 70% Democratic?
Except for, maybe it won't. That's the thing. With Larry Hogan now, it's like maybe it's in play because all you got to do is just win a little bit and you get all 7
Not for Trump,
though. No, well, not for Trump. Yes,
you would have to get some sort of moderate Republican.
Yeah.
Like saying, Hogan.
The Electoral College makes it in play in some elections, just like North Carolina is in play in some elections.
Also there's like the runaway, Reagan won Maryland, but that's because Reagan won everywhere. If he won California, then he was going to win Maryland.
In the end, without the Electoral College, you have to visit the 12 largest cities and the 4 most populous states, and that's it. That's all you have to do, and you win. If you win those places, you win.
If you win those places,
true. But Hillary Clinton won 57 counties, and of those 57 counties, she won 53% of the popular vote.
Yeah.
So why would you go anywhere except for those 57 counties? Right? Trump won 1,160 something and won 47%.
Yeah.
Popular. Anyway.
Point is, Bernie came. He was literally like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
So it was like, I might as well go see Bernie.
And you posted it in our group chat. And you said, who wants to come? And I was like, nope.
Well, I figured maybe there was somebody who would be tangentially interested in seeing it.
Yeah, feeling the burn. Yeah.
I went there, and the line went all the way from the metro stop at Civic Center all the way to the one at Union Station. And I'm like, I'm not waiting in that line.
Yep.
And
was there anyone in Grand Park at that time?
So what's funny, I figured, I imagined that they were going to set it up like, he's on the city hall steps kind of thing, and it was going to go outward from there.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it more that maybe they had it turned sideways where it was like the court building was behind them.
Okay.
And city hall was to stage left.
Why would they do that?
And like the fountain is stage right.
Why would they do that?
I think they had to set it up like that to make it so that you couldn't have like an open shot on Bernie if you were like going by, like for security purposes,
Yeah,
but
because
also
it's
you can
open
fill
to
that
temple.
space and make it look like it's huge.
Yes,
as opposed to if you have that huge, much like Trump had the problem at the inauguration where you could see like how people were thinning out in the mall.
Yeah, you would do the same thing.
Yeah, if I took a picture from the fountain of the Bernie rally and you could see that it was only like 2 parts of the block or the 2 parts of the park full.
Yeah, but by the way, it
be
wouldn't have been.
Can't even fill the whole park. Like
it wouldn't have been because people lined up to fucking Union Station to come in. But anyway,
all I know is that I saw Obama in 2008.
Yeah,
he was speaking at like George Mason or something like that. And granted, it was like a Tuesday, but it was still the same amount of people who went to go see Bernie. Mm-hmm. And I was in and out of that. Like I immediately got into the arena. They did the metal detectors and check and everything like that. I got up. I found a seat. I was watching the thing like immediately.
Yeah.
I was open for a similar thing with the Bernie event, but it was just not the same. So
not to be.
But
well, Bernie's more popular than Obama was then.
We'll see, I guess.
Again, 85-year-old woman on the Supreme Court, 70-year-old ex-prosecutor who was chosen by the man who's investigating him, and now we're relying on a 78, 76-year-old.
I think he's 78.
78-year-old alleged socialist from New York for our revolution.
Vermont.
No, he's originally from New York.
By way of New York, yeah.
He's originally from New York.
Yeah. But for the last 40-something years, senator from Vermont.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is who we are pinning the hopes of our revolution on. Mm-hmm. Bernie.
I don't know. I think Buttigieg is going to have a nice little time of this. I really do. I think he's my early spoiler.
I'm hoping so. Honestly, I just hope he clears the field out. I think that he's the guy. He is the massive weight that clears the field for whoever eventually does get the nomination.
And then he gets like the vice president.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or just enough to get like a hey, you know what? He has military experience. He also has state would be fine. Treasury would probably be good. He's got some good ideas when it comes to that. Or I don't know. Defense. I mean, he did go to Iraq. I feel like let's put him in defense so he can be like day one. Okay, let's get everybody home. How about that? Yep. Can we end this war that's been going on for 30 years or 13 years? Yeah. By the way, I have kids again who work for me. It's 2019. I have a 20-year-old who works for me. Right?
Yeah.
Which means that she does not remember the beginning of the Iraq War.
Yeah.
We have been at war in Iraq her entire life.
Yeah.
That I can't even comprehend that. Like it's been a significant portion of our lives too, but like we remember a time before.
Right.
Before the war.
It's like Tom Brady's been the quarterback of the Patriots for like 19 years. And it's just like
the entire time of Iraq War.
2/3 of our life has been Brady in the
I can't even picture that. But
we remember Drew Bledsoe. Like we remember there was a time before.
Yeah.
Like
but for her, it's just like, no, Afghanistan, we've been in war there my entire life. And we've been at war in Iraq for most of my life. So.
By the way, marketing fail by whoever this was. Spring is here. Earn 10% of all orders on your remainder of the month by entering the word spring in the notes section of your next order. Doesn't say what it's from.
Oh, that's nice.
It's like,
you're supposed to have that number saved, all right?
Never texted me before, so.
All right, somebody's...
yeah, hold on a second.
Let's see who's at the door.
No. No, I don't.
Carly, come here.
Sorry.
We're live on the internet. Hey. That's live TV, folks. That's live TV.
Thank you for holding with us. Somebody was offering us a dog.
What kind of dog was it?
It was a husky.
Oh, nope, we don't want a husky. Nope. Just wandering the halls? Just a husky wandering the halls?
Yeah, and they rang because they were just like, "Is this your dog?"
Like, no, we have one though.
We have a little one. It's fine.
She's around here somewhere.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So yeah.
Anyway, if you want any more last minute surprises, you know where you can go.
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. And you can find more of me and my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com. At LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Corey Baker or Facebook.com/Corey Baker Film for the official Corey Baker Filmmaker page. Mm-hmm. New review I want to do this week on Us.
Yep.
And a little piece of breaking news for y'all. I have decided to take the film reviews and put them into podcast form, audio form, so you can listen on the go. You don't have to sit down and watch it on YouTube if you don't want to.
Nice.
And that's available on many podcatchers right now. Not Apple Podcasts yet, but Spotify, Podcatch, or Pocket Casts, Google, Stitcher, bunch of them.
And they can find details at the website.
Yeah.
All right. Of course, you can find more of me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks, as it says right there. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com where you can find links to my political blog, news website, and the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy those books.
Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done the new one. I just have to add 2 lines.
Like, write 2 sentences.
Edit and write 2 sentences and we're done. And then it's coming out. Yeah. But yeah.
Just in time for 5 years.
Just Just in time. We're almost done. But the ironic thing is that, like, while we've been doing this, and I know it seems like it's taken a long time, I actually have been working on another book, which is almost done. And I have another one, which is done.
Yeah.
So, like, I have 3. I'm going to be able to go, like, bop, bop, bop this year. But it just is, like, backed up. So, like, I'm editing one while we are working on this. And then I finished that one. And then we got the cover situation started. And I started writing another one. I just get distracted. And I have too much going on.
I hear you.
It's too much.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem Digital Network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, and open invitation to Robert Mueller if he wants to come on the podcast.
100%. Yes. Yeah. We will have you on.
You don't have to get high. I was just joking about that part.
And I mean, we do have, we've got a good setup. We figured out with Jim, right? So we're going to be good to go.
Just a little box with Robert Mueller in the middle.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the perfect place for you. And you get center placement, unlike CNN. They're going to put you on the side.
Put you in a little box on the side.
We'll put you right in the middle.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Have a great week, everybody.